Hi folks, Rodney back again with Rodney's Northwest Riding Reviews. I am out today riding. This is Shotgun Creek OHV. It's in Oregon. What I was trying to say is it's about 5 miles outside of Marcola, which is about 20 miles outside of Eugene. But anyway, beautiful. It's probably 64, maybe 65 degrees. It's supposed to get up around 72, 73. So it is a beautiful day. Things are pretty dry. We did get like a quarter inch of rain a couple days ago, so there'll probably be some areas that are kind of slick. Keep in mind this is a clay-based area out here, and so when you get a little bit of rain, it's really slick. But when you get a lot of rain, it's actually not too bad. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's just the way that the soil works. I'm on my 2023 and a half KTM 450 SXF factory edition. So it does have the more rigid frame. I know a lot of people don't like that, and there's been a lot of comments about that. I did put on FCP motor mounts, and that actually kind of changed the rigidity quite a bit. So with that, you get a titanium bolt in the front, and then you get these billet aluminum mounts up top. So that kind of helped with the flex characteristic of it. I did have Vortex ECU done by Jamie at Twisted Development. Not so much to give it more power, however, I kind of felt like it lacked a little bit of power on the bottom end. But it really changes the throttle response. And so that's kind of the biggest thing that I really enjoy about it. Does it have more power? Yes, absolutely. It has more power all the way through the range, but it definitely has a lot more on the bottom end. And that's probably one area that maybe some people have complained about. I did have the KYB spring fork conversion done by M9 Suspension, Darren Mees over in Redmond, Oregon. Does great work. I've had him do, I think, 5 bikes now. So I had him revalve the rear shock. I also had him do the spring fork conversion on the front. If anybody has ridden the air fork, you'll know that there's a lot of stiction. And so what I mean by stiction is like when you just hit an initial bump, it seems like it's just kind of jarring to begin with. But then, as it goes down into the stroke, it's a lot better. These, because I'm riding off-woods, or off-road rather, I have a little softer suspension, more set up for off-road. But the spring fork conversion, the number one thing that it does is gives you a lot more front-end traction. And obviously it's a lot, I think it's a lot better all the way around. But more than anything else, you're probably going to notice the front-end traction. So anyway, the spring fork conversion. Other than that, everything else is pretty stock. The factory edition comes with an Akrapovic, exhaust system. It's just the pipe. It's not the full pipe. It's just the muffler itself. They say that the factory header pipe is not much, or I should say you can't get much better than what you already have there. So even going to a full exhaust system, you're not going to get a whole lot more bang for the buck there. So anyway, other than that, everything else other than the ASV unbreakable levers, everything else is pretty much stock on the bike. And so, like I mentioned, I'm riding off-roads. I haven't had this one on the track at all. But most of the riding that I do is probably more open. And so I have people all the time ask me, well, you have a KTM 250 XC 2-stroke, and then you also have this 450. Which do you like better for riding in the woods? And I would say that it kind of depends on the situation. If I'm in real tight technical stuff, I prefer the 2-stroke. The 2-stroke, you can lug it down a lot better. It's obviously, it feels lighter because you have less rotating mass. But in the faster flowing stuff, I much prefer the 450. It just seems to hold the trail better. It doesn't bounce around near as much as what the 250 does. And keep in mind, I do have spring fork conversion on my 250 2-stroke. This was done by Into Dirt down in California, but it's Del Saggio spheres. And if you haven't heard of them before, you might want to check them out. They have some great, not only for off-road, but also for motocross too. But it has a bladder inside of it, kind of like the rear shock does. But it has a bladder, so it's really smooth in the initial part of the stroke. Great front end traction, and then just has a great feel going over jumps and stuff. So anyway, have a great suspension setup on that as well. But like I said, if it's more open and more flowing, I prefer the 450. If it's more tight and technical, I prefer the 250. This one will do most of what the 250 will do. until I get in like really, really rocky trails where I'm kind of having to lug it over rocks and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to go along and hit some trails today. It's been over 2 months since I've been on this because it's been fire season and it's just now finishing up. In fact, this has only been open for maybe 3 weeks. And there's still some other OHV areas here in Oregon that are still closed because of the fires. So anyway, thanks you guys for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and send them my way. Take the time to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. You know, I've had many different bikes. I've had, you know, a 2000, and this is just recently, but 2016 CRF 450R. I had a 2017 CRF 450RX. Then I had a 2019 YZ 450 FX. Then I got a 2022 YZ 450F and converted it to ride trails. Biggest reason I did that is because I prefer the semi-close ratio transmission instead of the wide ratio transmission. With the wide ratio transmission on the Yamaha, it felt like, you know, it was too far in between second and third. And so it felt like I was winding out in second, but then it was too big a gap into third. Where the semi-close ratio, it just seemed like everything's a lot closer together and you're never searching for gears. Then I got a 2019 KTM 250 XE. That was a carbureted. It was last year of the carbureted version. And then I got a 2022 KTM 250 XE 2-stroke, and that was fuel injected. And then I got this 2023 and a half KTM 450 XEF, or excuse me, SXF factory edition. So currently the only 2 bikes I have is I have this, and then I have my 2022 KTM 250 XE 2-stroke. So it's kind of easy to compare, you know, which is better in which areas. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comments, like I mentioned, go ahead and send them my way, and we'll see you in the next one.